Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into Dr. Brené Brown's work, specifically from Daring Greatly. We really want to unpack how, embracing discomfort might actually redefine strength for you and maybe unlock a more fulfilling life. It kind of challenges those standard ideas about success.
The surprising thing, a real insight here, is how something we often see as weakness, vulnerability, is actually framed as the greatest measure of courage. It's quite a flip.
Okay, so let's unpack that.
Yeah.
Vulnerability. How does Dr. Brown define it? Like, precisely, is it something we can just decide not to do?
Well, that's the key thing. Brown argues it's not really a choice to be vulnerable. It's just part of being human. She defines it really clearly as uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. So you can't opt out. The choice, she says, is how you engage with it. Do you lean in?
Engage with the discomfort.
Right. And her research just completely flips that idea of vulnerability as weakness. As she said, it sounds like truth and feels like courage. It requires stepping into that discomfort.
Okay, and this is interesting. What happens if we try not to? If we try to armor up? She talks about a paradox of protection, doesn't she?
Exactly. That's a great point. The paradox is the more you try to shield yourself from feeling vulnerable, the more fearful you actually become.
Yeah.
And more disconnected. So that armor, it kind of backfires, leads you straight to the isolation you were probably trying to avoid in the first place.
So this isn't just about, personal relationships then. It's bigger.
Oh, much bigger. Brown makes it clear vulnerability isn't just for, heart-to-hearts. It's actually a prerequisite for creativity and innovation. Think about new ideas involve risk, right? And it's absolutely fundamental for genuine connection everywhere, work, family, community.
Okay, so leaning into vulnerability builds connection. But what about when we instinctively maybe pull back? You mentioned shame and blame earlier. Let's get into shame. How does she define that? It feels heavy.
It is heavy. She defines shame as that really intensely painful feeling. The belief that we're fundamentally flawed, and because of that, we're unworthy of love and belonging. It's that gut feeling of, I am bad. Not just, I did something bad. That's guilt.
Okay, so that's the key distinction. Guilt versus shame. I did bad versus I am bad.
Exactly. Guilt, she argues, can be healthy. It focuses on behavior, so it can motivate us to change, to make amends, accountability. But shame attacks who we are. It makes us feel small, powerless, and often leads to just blaming others instead of taking responsibility, that feeling of being unable to change.
Which leads straight into blame then. Brown calls blame, what was it, an unassailable change avoidance strategy? Kind of blunt?
Very blunt, but accurate, right. She says blame is just discharging discomfort and pain, pushing it onto someone else so we don't have to feel it or deal with it. She points out this inverse thing. The more you blame, the less accountability you take. Real accountability. Yeah. This is a vulnerable process. It takes courage over comfort.
Right. Like that story you shared about Andrew, the leader. He went from, I'm a failure, which is pure shame,
Total shame,
to telling his team, I screwed up, taking ownership. That's accountability. And you said the impact was huge.
Massive. It reportedly skyrocketed trust and respect because it showed courage. It showed humanity. But Brown points out, culturally, we're often not great at this. She observes, we don't really have the skills or maybe the tolerance for accountability. We tend to just shame people. Think about cancel culture. Blame becomes this wall against empathy, against learning.
Okay, so putting this all together, vulnerability, shame, blame, accountability. What does this mean for actually living? She talks about wholehearted living. What's that about?
Wholehearted living fundamentally is about engaging with the world from a place of worthiness. It's about knowing deep down that you are enough, just as you are. It's moving away from that scarcity mindset, the feeling of never enough time, love, whatever, towards recognizing your inherent value.
And part of that is belonging. She makes a distinction there too, right? Between fitting in and belonging.
A crucial one. Fitting in, she says, is about changing yourself to be accepted. Assess the situation, become who you need to be. But true belonging, that doesn't require us to change who we are. It requires us to be who we are. It's finding spaces where you're accepted for your authentic self. Much harder, but much more rewarding.
And this ties into leadership too. Daring leadership. How does that contrast with armored leadership?
Yeah, armored leadership relies on that control, often using shame and blame. It's fear-based. Daring leadership, on the other hand, is built on vulnerability. Daring leaders embrace empathy. They model accountability. They encourage learning from mistakes. They create psychological safety where people feel safe enough to take risks, to be vulnerable themselves. Andrew's story is a perfect example.
Wow. So, okay, this deep dive, It really shows that vulnerability isn't weakness at all. It's actually courage. And things like shame and blame, they really get in the way. Accountability, even though it's hard, seems like the path forward.
It really does. It's an invitation, isn't it, to choose courage over comfort, as she puts it. And maybe the question for you listening is, where could you take one small step towards vulnerability today?
Yeah, think about that difference. Just shifting from I'm a screw up to I screwed up. That small change in language, but wow. The
Yep.
potential impact for growth, for connection. Just remember, you are worthy. Right now, just as you are. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into a really transformative idea from our sources, especially Brené Brown's work in Daring Greatly, our vision, to fundamentally rethink vulnerability, challenge that old idea that strength means, being invulnerable, and discover how leaning into discomfort might actually unlock your potential. Life, love, leadership. It gets really interesting here.
Yeah, that's right. Brown, she's a research professor, and she totally flips the script on this. She sees vulnerability not as some kind of weakness. No, it's the birthplace. Innovation, creativity, real change. What's fascinating is how she just directly challenges how society usually talks about courage, true strength. It's showing up, even when you can't control things.
Okay, right. Let's unpack that. That central idea. We're all kind of taught, aren't we, that strength is being bulletproof, impervious. But Brown defines vulnerability as uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. So what does that actually mean for us? It's not just spilling your guts to everyone, is it?
Absolutely not. No, it's about engaging fully. But, to really get this, we need to look at its opposite, its dark side, shame. And this brings up a really important distinction for you. Shame, it's that intensely painful feeling, the belief that we're flawed, unworthy of love, of belonging. It's just profoundly destructive. It makes us disengage, pull back. And that's so different from guilt. Guilt is feeling bad about something we did, our behavior. Guilt can actually be constructive. It can motivate change.
Okay. That's a huge difference. It's so easy to mix them up. So guilt might make you think, okay, I messed up. I need to fix it, apologize, learn.
Exactly.
But shame just says I am bad. It paralyzes you, makes you want to hide.
Right. It shuts you down.
Understanding that difference feels like the first step for you, for anyone wanting to dare greatly. So if shame is this barrier, what's the active antidote? How do we counter it?
Empathy. That's the core antidote. Brown describes it beautifully as feeling with people. It's incredibly powerful. And it's not sympathy, not feeling for someone from a distance. Empathy is about perspective taking, staying out of judgment, recognizing the emotion someone else is feeling, and then communicating that back, showing you get it. And empathy is just crucial because, as Brown puts it, shame cannot survive empathy.
Wow.
Yeah, it really can't. It needs secrecy and judgment to grow. Empathy is like sunlight.
That clarifies so much. And it's not just personal struggles, right? This stuff plays out everywhere. Relationships, parenting.
Oh, absolutely.
And leadership, too. If you're leading a team or even just trying to influence people, this feels like a game changer. Let's talk leadership for a second.
Yeah, let's connect it there. Vulnerability in leadership. It directly fosters trust, innovation, and engagement. It really does. Think about leaders who admit mistakes, or ask for help, or even share a relevant struggle. They aren't seen as weak.
No, quite the opposite sometimes.
Exactly. They create psychological safety. That's the term. And that safety allows people on their team to take smart risks, to share ideas without fear of being shut down, to bring their whole authentic selves to work.
And that directly impacts the bottom line, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Think about it. A team where everyone feels safe enough to innovate, to point out problems early, even when things are tough. That's a huge competitive advantage.
So it's not just about being nice. It's smart strategy. Imagine a team solving problems faster because nobody's hiding mistakes. That's powerful. But okay, this daring greatly thing, it sounds brave, maybe a little scary. How do we actually do it? How do you practice this without just, getting hurt?
That's the million-dollar quotient, isn't it? Overcoming these barriers, especially shame, it takes conscious effort, real intention. Remember, shame loves secrecy, silence, and judgment. So fighting it means bringing things into the light, maybe sharing your story carefully with someone you trust deeply. But, and this is critical, vulnerability without boundaries is not vulnerability. It's self-destruction. You need clear, thoughtful boundaries. It ensures you're offering vulnerability from a place of strength, not desperation or oversharing. It's about being selective, intentional. Who earns the right to hear your story? What do you share? When?
That's such a key point for anyone listening and thinking about trying this. Knowing what to share, with whom, when. It's courage, yes, but it's also discernment, wisdom.
Precisely. It's about building real connection, not just performing vulnerability.
So we've covered a lot of ground today. We journeyed through this powerful idea of daring greatly, redefining vulnerability as courage itself, understanding those key players, shame, the barrier, and empathy, the antidote, and seeing how it transforms things, not just personally, but professionally too, especially in leadership.
Yeah, the enduring message, I think, from this whole deep dive is really a call to action. It's about stepping into the arena of your life. Whatever that arena is for you right now, a tough project, a difficult conversation, maybe just trying to show up more authentically day to day, even when it feels terrifying. Because the rewards, those deeper connections, real resilience, a more wholehearted way of living, they genuinely outweigh the discomfort of choosing courage instead of just putting up emotional armor.
So as you go about your week, maybe think about what stood out for you today. How might embracing this idea, daring greatly, maybe change just one interaction, one decision you make? And consider this too. What if this wasn't just individual? What if organizations, whole communities started operating this way, founded on empathy, on tackling problems together? It's a powerful thought to mull over.
So when you think about strength, what comes to mind? Is it like being fearless? Always right. What if real strength is something?
Hmm.
Well, something totally different, something we've maybe been taught is weakness. Today we're doing a deep dive into Brené Brown's Daring Greatly, specifically drawing from episode 13 of her work. It really flips the script on courage and power. Yeah. Our mission today is to unpack vulnerability. What is it really? And how is it, maybe surprisingly, tied to courage? And, how can embracing it actually change your life? We'll touch on that arena metaphor she uses, choosing courage over comfort. Stepping in. So, okay, let's get into it. Let's redefine vulnerability. It's not weakness, Di.
Not at all. Brené Brown frames it as uncertainty, risk,
Yeah.
emotional exposure.
Right, that exposure part feels key.
Exactly. And here's the thing. She says it's the birthplace of all the good stuff. Love, belonging, joy, even creativity.
Interesting. So you can't really have those things without being vulnerable.
Pretty much. Think about it. Love requires risking getting hurt. Belonging means putting yourself out there. It takes courage.
And courage then is just doing it anyway. Showing up.
That's it. Just showing up and being seen, even if you don't know how it'll turn out. Participating fully.
Okay. But what stops us? What gets in the way?
Well, two big forces. Shame and empathy. Or the lack of empathy, really.
Shame. That feeling of being flawed, unworthy.
Exactly. That intense, painful feeling. And it loves secrecy, judgment. It keeps us small, hidden. Empathy, though, is the antidote. It's about feeling with people, connecting.
And there are parts to that, right? Like
Yeah.
steps.
Yeah. 4 key things.
Yeah.
Taking their perspective, staying out of judgment, which is hard, recognizing the emotion, and then, crucially, letting them know you recognize it. Communicating that connection.
That makes sense. It kind of disarms the shame.
It really does. And another thing we do is we numb. We try to avoid discomfort.
Oh, yeah. Scrolling, eating, shopping, whatever it takes.
Right. Anything to escape those tough feelings. But
Yeah.
here's the kicker. You can't numb selectively. When you numb the bad stuff, like vulnerability or fear,
And the good stuff, too.
you got it. You dull the joy, the gratitude, the connection. It's a package deal.
Wow. Okay, that's huge. The idea you can't pick and choose what feelings to switch off.
Yeah.
So this sounds really transformative. Where does this actually show up? How does embracing vulnerability change things day to day?
Oh, it ripples out everywhere. Personally, it's about letting go of needing everyone to approve. It's about authenticity, feeling like I am enough just as I am.
That sounds freeing.
It is. And in relationships,
Yeah.
vulnerability isn't just nice, it's foundational.
Yeah.
It builds deep trust, real intimacy.
Makes sense. You have to be real with each other.
Totally. And for parents, modeling this stuff, showing your kids it's okay to be imperfect and real, that builds resilience, empathy in them. It's powerful modeling.
And even at work, in leadership.
Absolutely. Leaders who embrace vulnerability foster innovation, creativity, psychological safety. Teams feel safer to take risks, share ideas. It changes the whole culture.
So it's not just personal navel-gazing. It has real-world impact.
Definitely. Your personal journey with vulnerability creates ripples you might not even see.
Okay, so if we want to dare greatly step into our own arenas, how do we actually do that? It sounds kind of scary. What are some practical steps?
Yeah, it can feel daunting, but it's about small, consistent actions. First, try leaning into discomfort. Just noticing when you feel uncomfortable and not immediately running away. Growth happens there.
Okay, leaning in. Got it.
And practice self-compassion. Talk to yourself like you'd talk to a friend who's struggling. Be kind.
That's often harder than being kind to others.
Isn't it just? And boundaries. This is crucial. Vulnerability isn't spilling everything to everyone. It's sharing appropriately with people who've earned the right to hear your story.
Sure.
Boundaries keep it safe and sustainable.
Right. Not oversharing, choosing who gets access.
Exactly. Also, consciously cultivate gratitude and joy. Notice the good things and actively challenge those numbing behaviors we talked about. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding right now?
That's a good question to ask.
And practice empathy. Really try to understand others' perspectives. The key thing is, resilience isn't something you're born with. It's a skill.
It's a skill, not a trait.
Right. It's built. You develop it through these intentional practices over time.
So wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway? This deep dive really shows that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's courage in action.
It truly is a profound act of courage, and it's a journey, not a destination. Showing up, being seen, living authentically.
It's a continuous journey.
Yeah. So maybe a final thought for you listening. What's one small step, maybe even an uncomfortable one you could take today? Just one thing to show up a bit more fully in your own arena. And maybe start to embrace that core belief. You are enough.
Welcome to the deep dive. We take some amazing sources and pull out the key stuff, hopefully giving you some real insights, maybe even a surprise or two.
Yeah, get you thinking differently.
Exactly. Today, we're diving into Brené Brown's Daring Greatly. Big topic.
Huge.
Our mission here is simple, but kind of radical.
Yeah.
Let's totally reframe vulnerability. Forget the old ideas.
Right.
Brown argues it's not weakness at all. Actually, it's the best measure of courage we have. And embracing that can change, well, pretty much everything for you. Personal life, relationships, how you lead.
It's foundational, really.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're taught vulnerability is risky, avoid it.
Keep your guard up.
But Daring Greatly says it's the core of courage.
Yeah.
That feels like a total flip, doesn't it? What's going on there?
Well, what's so interesting is Brown's definition. It's not weakness. It's the courage to show up, be seen when you can't control the outcome.
Ah, okay. No guarantees.
Exactly. Uncertainty, risk, emotional exposure, that's vulnerability. And the big barrier, the thing that stops us, it's shame.
Shame.
And it's crucial to see it's different from guilt. Guilt is like, I did something bad. That can be helpful. You can fix it.
Right.
Shame is, I am bad. That core belief, it's destructive. It makes us want to hide.
That really hits home. So if shame makes us hide, how do we typically do that? What are those walls we put up?
Well, one of the biggest ones is perfectionism. Brown calls it a 20-ton shield.
Wow. 20 tons.
Yeah. We think it protects us, right? Keeps us safe from judgment. But actually, it just isolates us.
That keeps us stuck.
Totally. It's driven by that fear of not being good enough. And the antidote to shame, the thing that lets us drop the shield, it's empathy.
Empathy.
Feeling with people. Connecting to the emotion underneath their experience. It directly fights the isolation that shame needs to survive.
Okay, so we see the internal struggle. How does this idea of courageous vulnerability actually change how we connect with other people day to day?
Well, stepping back, you see, vulnerability is basically the bedrock of any real relationship. True intimacy, deep friendship, it just can't happen unless people are willing to be truly seen.
Warts and all.
Warts and all, trust isn't just there, it's built. Little by little, through small acts of vulnerability that are met with empathy. It's choosing your real self over some, polished version.
That makes sense for personal life. But work, it often feels like the last place you want to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Seems like a liability. How does Brown challenge that, especially for leaders?
Yeah, that's a huge question for leadership today. Old models were all about being bulletproof, right?
Totally. Never show weakness.
But Brown's research flips that. It shows real strength comes from, authenticity. Vulnerability is actually where innovation and creativity are born.
How so?
When leaders admit they messed up or ask for help or say, I don't know, they build psychological safety.
Making it safe for others.
Exactly. Safe for the team to take risks, share ideas, speak up without fear. You get way more engagement, more agility. It's powerful.
It sounds amazing, honestly. Transformative, but also pretty scary. How do we even start to dare greatly if it feels so uncomfortable?
Right. It is uncomfortable. And that's key. It's not about one huge, terrifying leap. Daring greatly is a practice. Daily stuff.
Okay.
First step. Recognize that discomfort isn't danger. It's actually a sign you're growing. Then it's about small, calculated risks.
Like what?
Brown calls them micro-vulnerabilities. Admitting a small mistake. Asking that question you think is dumb. Sharing a genuine feeling appropriately. These little acts build your vulnerability muscle.
Muscle, I like that. And it's not just blurting everything out to everyone, is it?
Oh, absolutely not. That's crucial. Real vulnerability needs boundaries. Discernment.
Right. Who you share with matters.
Definitely. Appropriate sharing with people who've earned your trust. And it's also about challenging that myth that we have to do everything alone, that asking for help is weak.
Yeah, that's a tough one to shake.
It is. But asking for help is strength. It acknowledges we need each other.
So, wrapping this up for you, the listener, what's the big takeaway? This deep dive really shows vulnerability isn't some fixed thing you either have or don't.
Right. It's a skill set. You can learn it. Practice it.
And it boils down to choosing courage over comfort. Again and again.
And the payoff, it's huge. More resilience when things get tough. Deeper, more real relationships. Workplaces that are actually creative and safe.
A stronger sense of purpose.
Exactly. Purpose and belonging. This idea of wholehearted living. It's not a finish line. It's how you live day to day practicing this stuff.
And when one person makes that choice, chooses vulnerability, it ripples out, doesn't it?
It really does. Creates this positive cycle of trust and realness. It's more than just changing yourself. It affects everyone around you.
So the question for you is, what small act of vulnerability will you choose today? How will you start to truly dare greatly?
Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're doing a deep dive into Brené Brown's work, Daring Greatly. Specifically, we're focusing in on that one episode, number 15, The Call to Courage.
Yeah. And this is really about getting past the surface level, isn't it? Her research, it's built on thousands of interviews. It just fundamentally challenges that whole idea that vulnerability is weakness.
Right. It's not weakness.
Exactly. She actually positions it as the source, the place where things like innovation, creativity, real connection, where they actually come from.
So kind of the engine, not the obstacle.
Precisely. An accelerant, you could almost say.
Okay, so our mission here is really to pull out those key insights, the stuff you might miss on a first listen, and, see how embracing this vulnerability thing can actually work in your life, practically speaking.
Yeah, make it tangible.
So, a lot of people hear vulnerability and think, maybe TMI, oversharing. Does the episode get into that?
Oh, absolutely. That's a really key distinction she makes. It's not just blurting everything out. It's about choosing courageously to engage with uncertainty, with risk, with emotional exposure, but intentionally, with boundaries.
Okay, so it's an active choice. Showing up even when you don't know the outcome.
That's the phrase, showing up.
Yeah.
Not just emotional offloading.
Got it. And that links to courage, right? Because showing up is scary, but it's not about not being scared.
Exactly. She flips that common idea on its head. Courage isn't being fearless. It's deciding to act even when you feel fear. And there's this really interesting psychological bit she discusses, shifting from that paralyzing what-if spiral.
Oh, yeah, catastrophizing everything.
Right. What if they judge me? What if I fail? Shifting from that to what is, like grounding yourself in the present reality, uncertainties and all.
Okay, acknowledging what's actually happening, not just the scary hypotheticals.
Yes. Moving from anxiety about might be to dealing with what is.
So that showing up, that acting despite fear, is that where the arena comes in, that metaphor she uses?
Precisely. Stepping into the arena, it's a powerful image. It means you're willing to get in there, engage with the tough stuff, even knowing it's risky. And it totally reframes success and failure.
How so?
Well, Brown suggests failure isn't just possible, it's almost inevitable if you're actually daring to try things.
So failure means you showed up.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
The real failure, in her view, is staying on the sidelines because you're too afraid to even get in the arena. Avoidance is the failure.
That's a powerful way to think about it. Takes the sting out of failing.
It really does. It shifts the goal from never failing to always daring.
And what holds people back from the arena, often it's that fear of judgment, right? Being seen as not good enough. Is that shame?
Yes, she connects those directly. Shame, she defines it as that deep fear of disconnection, the fear that something about you makes you unworthy of connection.
Yeah.
And that fear is the main thing stopping us from being vulnerable. But here's the twist. Vulnerability is actually the antidote to shame. Because when you're vulnerable, You allow for real connection, the very thing shame tells you can't have.
Wow. Okay. So leaning into vulnerability actually reduces shame's power.
Exactly. They're fundamentally linked. Choose vulnerability, foster connection, diminish shame. Choose shame, hide, feel disconnected. It's a cycle.
So this isn't just like a self-help technique. It sounds like it affects, well, everything. How we live. How does this apply day to day for you?
That's the key. Its application is everywhere. It's a principle for just, healthy human functioning. Think about work, for example. A leader admitting they made a mistake or don't have the answer, that sounds like weakness, right?
Traditionally, yeah.
But Brown's research shows that active vulnerability often creates psychological safety. It tells the team it's okay to take risks, to be imperfect. That unlocks innovation.
Creates trust.
Huge trust builder. And it's the same in parenting. Allowing kids to see you struggle fosters their sense of belonging. In relationships, it's the path to real intimacy, not just surface level stuff.
It's the route to what she calls wholehearted living, right? Living authentically.
That's the term, living from a place of worthiness, courageously and authentically.
Sounds amazing. Also, sounds potentially really uncomfortable. Like, what if you're just not ready to dive headfirst into the arena?
And that's totally valid. It is uncomfortable. The episode acknowledges that the fear of judgment, criticism, it's real. But the key is vulnerability isn't a destination you arrive at. It's a practice, like building a muscle.
Okay, so small steps.
Yeah, exactly. Start small. Maybe share something a little vulnerable with one person you really trust. Find those safe spaces. Build communities where it's okay to be real. It gets easier with practice.
So wrapping up this deep dive into the call to courage, it really does redefine vulnerability, doesn't it? Not as weakness, but as essential strength, the path to really living fully.
Absolutely. And connecting it back. The whole journey of daring greatly isn't a one-shot deal. It's ongoing. It takes continuous courage, commitment, that willingness to just keep showing up in your life's arena. Imperfectly, maybe, but showing up.
Makes you think. What's one small way you could choose to show up maybe a little more authentically in your own arena today? Something to mull over.
That's all for this episode of the Deep Dive Cast. Thanks for joining us. We hope you gained some valuable insights. Be sure to tune in next time for another deep dive into the world's best ideas. Until then, keep learning and growing.